Hello, welcome to another Alpha Strike We Play video. I'm joined by Tarron.
Hey buddy, how we doing?
Good.
Doing more Cthulhu stuff.
We are. So this is Mythos by Warcradle Studios, and we're talking about the Custos Crypta faction here.
Yes. Big bugs.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that fella. It's huge.
Very cool. They definitely have an Egyptian feel to them.
Yeah, definite Egyptian scarabby type feel to it, and there's bugs, so scarab bugs.
So we're going back like 700 BCE. That's where it all sort of starts. And there was a pharaoh of Egypt called Shabaka, and basically he was the man, and there was like a whole bunch of sacrifices done every day in his name and all that sort of thing. He was the guy. So he actually worshipped, sorry, I've got my book here, I'm just going to refer to it. So it was the Kushite Empire, and he actually worshipped, there was a goddess, Khepera. Yeah.
Khepera?
Yeah, ancient Egyptian goddess Khepera. Yeah. So yeah, he was in charge for a long time, and he had he was gifted with these crypt guardians or whatever. So they're one of their
grobs and things.
Yeah, we'll show you those. They're the big things, and but unfortunately, it didn't seem to be enough because humans being the way they are, he eventually got sort of overthrown, and
we're not good with big bugs.
No. But in a true Egyptian pharaoh style, he had his own little, well, not little pyramid, I suppose it'd be a big one.
Pyramid.
He'd have a big one. And they chucked him in there. And
so one of the crypt guardians was like kind of like interred with him, or it shut its body processes down or something. It went into stasis.
Yeah.
And then someone's broken into the pyramid.
Yeah, it was, just got it here.
Sarah.
Yeah, so in 1919, so there was a excavation team, and they basically took its remains, what they thought it was remains, back to, there was a museum in Boston.
Yep.
Yeah, it was taken there.
And then was this Sarah Harriet lady, she's working in the museum one night and spilled a bit of water on this big bug and thought, oh, well, there doesn't seem to be any damage. Okay, I'll go home for the night. And they come back the next day and it's gone and people start disappearing. And what is it, like it like takes over their minds or something? I think it strips out the higher like brain function and just makes them mindless zombie porn things.
Yeah, so it's ready to kick some butt. Yeah,
it's very cool.
So that's basically, so if you're into your Egyptian sort of feel and things like that. So
or gremlins, one of the two. Yeah. Don't get them wet.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what they are. So let's take a look. There are six models in the pack.
Yep. Put that over there so they can see it.
Hopefully that's not too shiny. So so you've got the big one.
The big one is the Crypt Guardian. That's your leader. We'll do him first, eh? So he's a myth. He's got pretty solid stats. I mean, a move of 7 and a charge of 10 isn't to be sneezed at. Fairly high defenses for everything. He's got an 8 sanity, which generates good. That is very good. Generates 4 myth and 26 wounds. Although for 35 points and being a leader, you kind of expect
something.
Yeah. He's got some fairly full-on attacks as well. Bladed limbs is his close combat thing. So you're rolling, adding an 8, and it does bleed on a critical.
Nice.
So that's cool.
That's what you want.
Yep. And he can spit his digestive enzymes out to 10 inches with a +7, and that causes blind.
Okay.
Which is, again, pretty cool.
So having blind is quite good, because if someone's sort of shooting back at you with arcane attacks or range attacks or whatever, they'll shut that down.
They can't do it anymore. And I think it gives you combat
range attacks.
Range attacks is the only one. So he's got a Psychic Screech, which is a once per game thing, and it costs him 2 myth. So this is a big one. So all enemy models within 8 inches must pass a sanity test or suffer -2 to all attacks, combat defense, range defense, and arcane defense until the end of the turn.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So if you've got if they're all clumped together, that's pretty good. They all benefit from that.
Not bad. So if the enemies can't pass their sanity tests, they're going to be very bad at hitting things or not being hit. So, and that's for a whole turn. And he's also got one that I kind of like, is Cannibal. So he can inflict 4 wounds on a friendly grub, which is one of the other units. There's like a little grub thing, within 3 inches to heal 3 wounds on this model. Right. So your crit grubs have 14 wounds and he's got 26, so you shouldn't need to do it, but if he does end up in a bit of a tight spot, you can just reach out, rip a piece off and scoff it down.
Maybe a snack on the run.
Yeah.
God.
It's nice, nasty. So he's got his standard leader ability, which gives him the extra action point. He's winged. So he automatically passes jumping and falling tests no matter what height you drop him from.
That's helpful.
Which is good.
Yeah.
He's sure-footed, so he can move through difficult terrain. Doesn't have to pay movement penalties for that. He's got Guardian, which is kind of interesting. So once per turn, this model may reroll both die in any one attack or test this turn if it is within 4 inches of an objective held by a friendly model, including itself. So that kind of leans you or steers you towards one sort of scenario, really. You want to be holding objectives. You want scenarios with objectives in. I think the only scenario we've played so far is the one where you only have to kill each other. So there's no real physical objectives in that scenario.
Not in that one, but there are some others. Yeah. So portals and things like that, which is helpful.
These guys, they won't do quite as well in the they'll probably rip you to bits, but that's not the point. This ability is geared to having actual physical objectives being held, which is interesting. Oh. I like the fact that they've done that. I think all of the rest of the scenarios in the book have actual physical objectives. He's also got Ambush Predator. So it gains +1 to combat attacks when it charges. So not only does it get the extra dice for charging, so it's rolling 3 dice, but his bladed limbs goes from an 8 to a 9. So, nasty.
I just had a quick look. The other scenarios seem to have objectives that you do something or hold. So that's quite good.
So it's just an interesting thing to see them actually have a mechanic for a specific faction that's based around holding objectives. I think that's kind of cool. Yeah. Makes it interesting.
So what happens when it flips?
When it flips, it loses the Mythos abilities, or the myth abilities, and it gains Insatiable. So if this model does not make a combat attack during its activation, it suffers 1 wound at the end of its activation. It may attack friendly models.
Probably.
So yeah, his stats change a little. He gets a little slower, and he gets a little easier to hit. Not by much, but a little bit. But everything else stays the same. He loses his myth abilities, but yeah, he gains that Insatiable. So he has to be attacking people. He has to be continuously hurting people in combat.
And he has a madness threshold of 4. Okay.
Yeah, so 4.
Right.
And a sanity of 8, which is, that's pretty high, I think.
And 4 myth. Generates 4 myth.
4 myth.
Okay. So you talked about the crypt grubs. So they've got some extra stuff. We'll just have a look at the card first, because they do actually have their own little madness table and things like that.
Yeah, they've got their own little bits and pieces. So
we'll put the card up on the screen. Hopefully we can do that. So sanity of 6, 1 myth, 14 wounds, 5 move, 7 charge, combat and range defense of 6, and an arcane defense of 7.
Yes.
All right. Bladed limbs, adding 6 in combat, in base combat. It causes bleed. So and you get 2 of those models. So you've got 3 models in your army that's doing bleed. So if you can gang them up on somebody, that'd be handy.
You've got even more, because some of the others pretty much everybody in this force causes bleed.
Got bleed. Look at that. Fantastic.
It's good stuff.
Digestive enzyme. I think it's the same, is it?
The same thing, just range, a slightly lower level and shorter range.
Shorter range, 8 inches. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Well, let's go straight to it. So with their myth abilities, they've got 2. First one is Evolve, which costs 2, and the second one is Mutation, which costs 1.
Yeah.
They're sort of the same thing, but sort of not.
They have a mutation table.
So I'll put that over
there. So you can whack it over there. and let them have a look, and then bring it back so I can have a look. So basically what it does is evolve is 2 myth, but it lets you pick one, and mutation is only 1 myth, but you have to roll for it. And if you get multiples, they don't count. So yeah.
So there's 6, looks like there's 6 that come up there.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? Death rattle.
Death rattle. So when he dies, all models in base contact make a combat defense test, and if they fail it, they suffer 2 wounds.
Cool.
Yeah. It's starting well.
Okay.
Sharpened limbs is number 2, so he's got bladed limbs inflicts 1 additional wound if any wounds are caused.
Oh,
that's his bladed limbs attack. Spitter, so digestive enzymes range is increased to 10 inches, and this model gains +2 to ranged attacks.
Oh, gee, that'd be handy.
Yeah, so it goes to 10 inch +8, which is the same as the Crypt.
Yeah, but that's quite good.
Yeah, the Guardians. 4 is a racing snake, so he gets +1 move and +1 charge. So he goes to a 6 move and an 8 charge, which is nothing to be sneezed at. Number 5, he gets hardened chitin, so it replaces the chitin. He's got an ability there that's chitin. So any non-condition damage suffered by this model is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1. I'm glad they put that in there. But this replaces that with any non-condition damage suffered by this model is reduced by 2 to a minimum of 1. So he gets chunkier, and he's got evolve. So choose and apply another mutation from the table. So if you mutate and you roll a 6, you get to pick one. If you evolve, you get to pick one straight away. So there's that sort of do I or don't I, because they've got a madness limit of 4 as well, and only a sanity of 6. So spending a lot of myth points is a little iffy.
But so because evolve and mutation are different, they can both be used in the same activation.
Yes.
Which is still good. Like you could really bump up those abilities. If your dice rolls are on par.
Yeah. We've seen, the game we had, it takes a couple of turns for you to get into like sort of direct combat sort of areas. You can spend the first 2 turns just beefing up your crypt grubs and see how you go.
Yeah.
I'd give it a whirl with at least one of them. The one that I like here, their abilities is Swarm. So this model gains +2 to combat attacks from outnumbering enemy models instead of the usual +1.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's why I'm thinking you could just ditch the 2 ladies and get extra crit grubs.
Well, we'll have a look at them.
Yeah, we'll have a look at them and we're getting ahead.
Considering they still cause bleed.
That's it.
To keep for that at least. But
so he's got his chitin as well, and then he's got Guardian, which is the same as the Crypt Guardian.
Right.
So they're holding objectives within 2 inches for him. I think for the Guardian it's within 4 inches, it can reroll, and theirs is within 2 inches, it can reroll.
Rerolling is so good though.
It is.
So what happens when it flips?
So he flips over.
That's pretty generous. That's pretty good.
Yeah. He can't spit anymore, so he goes down to only having his bladed limbs.
Okay.
That might be worth remembering if you're picking mutations.
Yeah, true.
He keeps his Swarm, his Chitin, and his Guardian, but he gains Insatiable, the same as the Crypt Guardian does.
Okay.
So he has to be attacking, otherwise he starts taking wounds, and his stats go down slightly. Yeah, so he takes a hit to movement, although not to charge, and his arcane defense goes down. But
considering myths don't cost actions, so if you've got if you're fatigued or whatever, you won't be able to do it because that's one of the side effects of fatigue.
Yeah,
but you could still it might still be. So they have their own madness table. So let's have a quick look at that too. So I'll just put this up here. And then it's not too shiny.
You'll be able to see it, and then we can go bang and stick it up in the middle.
Yep.
So you don't have to look at us.
There we go. So so they've got a threshold of 4, but I don't know. Let's have a look. So
I think it's fairly similar to the others. But it's a little more difficult to get them removed. I think you have to have a 2 or less on the normal. Oh no, it's 1 or less. Okay.
Are they a myth? No, they're not a myth.
No,
so they're just standard. Okay.
Yeah, they have their own table. I think that's why they haven't listed them as either a human or
So 2 to 3 suffers paralyzed. So for someone else, suffers wounds equal to half its combat attack value.
And paralyzed. The myth would be paralyzed.
Yeah, but they're not myth.
Yeah, but they're not human either.
Yeah, but it doesn't have myth keyword. So they go off mortal.
Alright, so you'd take wounds and be paralysed, whereas here on a Crit Grub Madness table you're only paralysed.
Only paralysed. That's pretty good. So instead of damaged, okay.
So 4 to 6, as its first action, it must make a ranged attack against the closest enemy model within range and line of sight. If no enemy models are in range, it must target a friendly model instead.
Oh, right.
So, if you roll a 4 to 6 on the Madness table, you have to spit at someone. Doesn't matter who, you have to do it.
So this one actually, you get paralysed.
Yeah. You don't take damage, but you're paralysed.
You're just paralysed, okay.
So 7 to 9 on yours.
That's not too bad.
Is fatigued.
Fatigue, yep.
Yeah, so you just take the fatigue condition. On this, the next time this model activates, as its first action, it must make a charge against the closest unengaged enemy model within range and line of sight. If no enemy models are in range, it must target a friendly model instead. If there are no viable targets, it can act as normal. So before you had to spit at something, now you have to charge at something. And it doesn't matter if it's friendly or not. So they've got their own little bit of volatility there.
Yeah. All right. So 10 to 11. So normally they act normal. So for standard Madness table, it's fine.
That's your clarity. This model loses 1 mutation of your choice.
Okay. So that's bad.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, if you get a critical success on this, what does it do there?
So this one here, they don't suffer sanity loss when spending myth during its current or next activation.
Which is pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But what do they get?
So this model gains the Vigor condition and may act as normal.
Ooh, hey.
If there is currently no friendly Crypt Guardian, which is the leader we just went through, so if someone's killed that, this model is replaced by the Crypt Guardian model and all of its associated statistics. Any existing conditions, wounds or sanity loss are also transferred to this new Crypt Guardian. Wow. So basically it busts out and becomes the new Guardian.
Wow. And so it would get the new hit point, minus whatever damage.
Minus whatever it's already taken. But its sanity goes up, its myth generation goes up, all its other stats go up. It gets new abilities, it gets new myth abilities, it gets better attacks. It becomes a leader.
But it would still be on the altered side.
Presumably, yeah.
But that's still a lot better. It's still
it's still better than a Crypt Grub on its altered side.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
It's kind of cool.
You got to get a critical success for that. So
14 point model. Okay.
Yeah, for 14 points, I'd take a dozen of the little buggers and a Guardian and just run them out there.
Chances are you'd probably already be in combat or near an enemy, close enough that you could get in there and start.
Once you start rolling on Madness tables, you should be near an enemy in order to do it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you do what I just said and you start, like before you get into that close combat area, you start trying to evolve them so they've got better abilities.
Yeah.
You might find yourself pushing it over the edge. If it flips and starts rolling on this table and doesn't do well, it could be attacking your own guys. So that's something to think.
Okay. I want to talk about this next one, actually, because I really like the Crypt Sham.
He is awesome. I only had a quick look, and he's awesome.
But he's cool.
He's like a mantis type. I'm just imagining like a mantis.
Yeah.
Thing. What does he look like on? Yeah, he kind of looks mantis-y.
Yeah. So he's got those like a locusty sort of a.
Yeah. That's insane.
Yeah, he's cool. Okay, so
but yeah,
charge of 8. So he's pretty fast.
Yeah, he's only got a move of 5, but he's got a charge of 8.
Yeah.
And fairly good defensive stats. He's got an 8 sanity, which is good. Generates 3 myth, which is good. And he's got 20 wounds, which is freaking awesome.
And he has ranged attacks.
Yeah.
As well as close combat. So that's nice.
Yeah.
A couple of things. So bladed limbs adds 7 in close combat and causes bleed. Because we know everything causes bleed now. We had a little look. And digestive enzymes plus 7 at an 8-inch that causes blind. So we've got 4 units so far that also have the option of blind.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice.
So
that is nice.
The one that I'm enjoying, actually, because I want this for a werewolf, is perfect camouflage. Can you imagine a werewolf? Listen to this and imagine a werewolf with this. So remove this model from play and place it anywhere on the table within 10 inches of its original position and out of line of sight of all enemy models. If you cannot place this model out of line of sight of all enemy models, then you cannot use this ability. But what it lets you do is take it out of a combat, pick it up and put it 10 inches away. As long as nobody can see it, you can put it up to 10 inches away and just start again.
Wow.
That is so cool.
That's good. That is very cool.
That's like a ninja. Done.
So yeah, so you could use your actions to go in and like kill something or whatever, and then use that myth just to disappear.
Yep.
Just like that.
Just poof, gone. Especially if you have, if you're in the habit of putting a lot of terrain on your battlefield, like you've got little houses and walls and stuff like that, and thick woods. I mean, you are. Yeah, if you're opposed to these guys, if these are guys on the other side of you, you want dudes, like you want as little terrain as possible because he will start just run in, whack, and then smoke bomb, and go on.
The best games are always, you should have a generous amount of terrain, I think, because it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it makes it more interesting. It makes it, I mean, this sounds nasty, but I mean, that is a cool effect.
It is.
Really, that is a cool effect.
So what else is it? What's this? Pass unnoticed. This model may only be the target of an attack if it was within 8 inches of the attacking model. That's very similar to what my beastie has.
Yes. Your
I find that very handy. Yeah,
guy.
Spawn of Chronozon.
Yeah.
It's very handy.
You can't shoot at him. You can't spell at him. You can't charge him unless you're within 8 inches, which is, I don't like that. No. If you've got a charge of 9, you're screwed. Get within 8 inch.
So he's winged as well. So passes jumping and falling. He's got the Kaizen. So reduced by 1 damage to a minimum of 1.
And unfortunately, he's unique.
Well, you know.
Yeah. No, well, we want more than 1.
So let's have a look at the altered side. He keeps... So he loses the pass unnoticed and his Mythos ability. And
I think he gets a little slower.
Yeah. Some of his stats drop and things like that. So
nothing by more than a couple of points.
That's fine. But he's got a limit of 4 as well, a threshold of 4. So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
He can get a lot done.
Yes.
All right.
So just those 3 there, I would be taking as my force. The 2 ladies are cool. They're cool, but they are just mindless pawns of the Crypt Guardian. So
Let's have a look at Sarah, because she's the one that got us into trouble in the first place.
Yeah, she's the one that caused the whole bloody thing.
Water and whatnot. So now she's only a 7-point model, so don't expect too much. Managed threshold of 2, 12 wounds, 1 myth, sanity of 5. So she does have a myth ability, but I don't know. 5's hard. Standard human, so 4 movement, 6 charge, 6 combat defense and range defense, and a 5 for arcane defense. So look, pretty squishy.
Very squishy when you read the rest.
Yeah, so it has a knife, which is adding 5 in base contact and causes bleed. Look, if there's enough of them in combat with what they're fighting, that would
you can still do some damage with them.
Yeah. A myth ability of Chains of Smoke, which costs 1. 1 enemy model within 8 inches of this model suffers -1 to combat defense, range defense, and arcane defense.
Until the end of the turn.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. So if you look at her first ability, though, is Broken Psyche. So they've basically been mind wiped by this Guardian and then given like rudimentary ability to move and function and cast this Chains of Smoke. So the Broken Psyche, I think, is trying to show that. So this model suffers -1 to all sanity tests.
Yeah. Considering sanity of 5, that's pretty bad.
You're rolling your dice, you're adding 5, and then you're taking 1 off.
Yeah.
It's not good.
She's unique, though.
She's unique, so you can only have 1 of her.
But I think her stat card, she's unique, but her stat card is exactly the same as Victoria.
It's pretty much the same as Victoria, yeah. They're both uniquely the same.
Uniquely the same.
So they lose the myth ability on the other side. then they keep everything else, but their stats go down a smidge.
Yeah.
So their defensive stats go down quite a bit. 1-1 and 1-1 and 1.
Yeah, 1-1-1. Everything. Yeah, all the defenses go down by 1.
And that's about it.
I don't know, but I mean, if you're just like trying to claim an objective or...
Well, I mean, you can put them in there, you can put the chains of smoke on the dude, charge in, and then let the crypt grubs take care of it, because one of them in contact with something that the grub is trying to hit gives it a +2 instead of a +1.
Yeah.
So they're good for that. They're useful for that. And that chain of smoke, if they've got that off as well, then there's a -1 to the defense for the person that's getting a +2 to the combat attack.
True.
So you're just piling those modifiers onto that dice roll, and you're hopefully doing quite well out of it.
But considering every model causes bleed, that will start adding up.
Yeah.
That damage will start adding up as well. So
yes. Yeah. So once you've taken bleed, you start losing wounds at the start of your activation. But every bleed after that causes you 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 models that all cause bleed.
Just going back to the Crypt Guardian here, though. Like, he doesn't have, like, was it Indomitable and things like that?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't seem to have, like, nothing that sort of affects fear and things like that. I'd be terrified if I saw that. But, you know,
I'd be pooing myself if I saw any of these things.
But it doesn't have that sort of thing, so... But I guess it balances out the fact that if you're lucky with your dice rolls, and a crypt grub can turn into another one.
They don't seem to be terribly defensive, like you say. They're not really.
I'm thinking glass cannon.
Yeah,
like of all the
factions,
they are. They can do a lot of damage at range.
Yeah, especially I mean this Cryptium.
Yeah,
he's gonna hurt things. I mean, probably in close combat more. But he's got a solid charge and the ability to ghost out to 10 inches. I mean, just wow.
Yeah.
And then if you add in all of the crypt grubs that are swarming, there's some solid hits to be had. But yeah, if they get retaliated against, if he for some reason can't like zip out of there, he could have some problems. He's got a solid combat defense, but
it's good though. Yeah, I like him. I mean, I like the idea.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of just sort of playing them and see how they go.
It is odd that there's no fear causing or anything like that in there.
Yeah,
that seems strange, but like I say,
I just had pictures of these guys sneaking into like a Hollywood like movie theater thing or whatever that's or where they're filming, some Egyptian sort of movie or whatever.
On the studio.
You could make a table for that. That'd
somebody
hilarious.
looking up and going, "Hey, Bazza, that's a good costume."
It's so angry.
Oh dear. They're very good.
Yeah,
they're very good
though. Good looking models too, actually.
Yeah,
a lot of character, especially the Crypt Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian model is he's really cool. He's really cool.
Custos Crypta. I like it.
Give him a crack.
I like it, yeah.
Give him a crack.
Let us know how you go with it, guys. So we'd like a bit of feedback on playing them.
Yeah.
What you've come across.
Yeah.
But I like them. I like them.
All good.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's it for now.
Bye, guys.